Thank you everybody for having me today. I'm super excited to be here. I wrote my talk and I'm going to tell you the title of it. I'm going to read it off the paper, is How Do I Prepare for a Future House Sale? So the first thing is curb appeal. Your first showing is actually online with the pictures. So you want to stand back and look at your home and say, what am I looking at? Or even have a friend come over and help you take a look at your house, because sometimes it's, we see our houses every day. We don't see what other people see. So a beautiful wreath, mulched gardens, any overgrown shrubs, you cut them down. Make that house look beautiful, so when that for sale sign does go in the front door or in the front lawn, people are going to be like, wow, that house always looks so nice and well kept. I really would like to take a look at it. So now here we are. I'm going to talk about decluttering on the inside. So over time we accumulate things, and really one of my #1 rules is in getting rid of stuff. When you have a garage or a shed or a spare bedroom and there's a lot of things in it, one of my first rules is evaluate what's in your house, and anything that doesn't belong to you, get rid of that first. People are always like, oh, what do you mean? Well, how many people, by a show of hands, has something in their house that does not belong to them right now?
Yeah.
Okay. It's your kid's stuff, it's your sister's stuff, you've got the neighbor's broken snow blower in the garage. So that is always the easiest place to start, because you don't really have any emotional attachment to it. It's just taking up space. And this is where I always say that I'm willing to be the bad guy for you guys. You could call up your sister, your friend, or call your kids and say, listen, this realtor, she's obnoxious, and she says you got to get your stuff out, and give them a time limit. Say, I'm going to start cleaning the house out. I need it out in, and then you pick the time limit based on when you're thinking of moving, and stick to it. And it helps get the ball rolling. And when you get the other people's stuff out of your house, it'll encourage you to say, okay, you know what? It's nice having some of the extra space. I find so often when I go into people's homes, years before they're even going to move, or if they're moving quickly, and I make a couple of suggestions. Hey, why don't we paint that door? Why don't we, declutter this room? And then they do it, and then we sell the house, and they say, I really wish I took care of this before, and I got to enjoy it a little bit. Just to set your house up for the next people. It's great to start now, and again, I'm just going to keep swinging back to your upcoming garage sale. The more stuff, if you're not using it, if you're not going to, bring it with you to your next house, get rid of it. And then the chance of you getting rid of something that you really might need again, we have lots of stores around here. You could go buy it. I say to my husband all the time, I'm like, let's let Lowe's store this stuff, and then we could go back and buy it. It's fun to go buy things rather than to keep them in the house and then you can't find them. So the getting rid of things, it seems like such an easy thing. It's not. And one thing to keep in mind is that it's like, how do you eat an elephant? A little bit at a time. If you start going to look and you're like, oh, I can't do this, start small. Start with a drawer. Do the drawer, and then go do something fun. Treat yourself. Then do a closet. Do it a little bit at a time, and if you do a little bit at a time, over time, the house is going to get lighter and lighter. Attics, basements, closets, things that have just been in there forever. Some people have boxes and boxes of stuff in their home that they moved from a previous home that they never even opened. I sold a house in West Milford, this beautiful big house, and the attic was filled with boxes of her son's items, and boxes they never unpacked from their move from Bergen County 30 years ago. They never unpacked the boxes. So when the boxes came down out of the attic, they were filled. There was mice in there. They were just, it was sort of gross, So those boxes aren't doing any good in the attic. And when a buyer comes through your home and they're looking around and they're picturing themselves in the house, one thing, we don't know what their story is. They may have a house that's sold already and they have a closing date. They know that they need to move in 45 to 60 days. And they're looking in the closets, and they're looking in the basement, and they're gonna look around, and I've had people turn to me and say, there's no way they're gonna be out in time, because they just moved, so they know how much work it is. So having the house open and free and being able to really see the space is super important. So, and this is something that as you go through the process, houses don't necessarily need to be perfectly updated. You don't need to have all the latest styles of countertops and cabinets and bathrooms and kitchens. You know, everyone's home is in different phases of being, you know, what's so-called updated. The most important thing is that it is spotlessly clean. It's not important that the tile may be from the 70s. You may like it like that. That's totally fine. It's your home. So I get when people are like, oh, I know I need to update the kitchen, or I know I need to redo the bathroom before I move. You really don't have to. What you do need to do, this is 100%, is it needs to be spotlessly clean. And that includes, like, let's say your caulk is a little messed up in the tub. That's a pretty common thing. Have the tub re-caulked. And now every time you go in there, you get to enjoy a nice clean caulk tub. So the next thing, so now we're all spotlessly clean, we're decluttered, we've got some great curb appeal, is painting. Houses really are supposed to be painted, you know, every 5 to 10 years because paint gets shabby. I mean, I know that we just painted in here, which it looks great. It gives it a nice fresh update. So if your house is a lot of bright, fun colors and you like it like that and the paint looks good, that's great. Wait to paint right before you put it on the market. But if the rooms haven't been painted in a long time, it is a fun thing to do is to have the house painted. And while you're doing that, you might want to change your artwork around, change some of the accessories you haven't, and give yourself a nice, fresh, bright look and enjoy it yourself. And then when it comes time to put it on the market and you have your real estate professional come in, they're not going to say, you know, I hate to break it to you, but we have to have this house painted. And then it's just another thing that can make it very overwhelming. You know, now you're having the house painted on top of looking for a new place to live and packing and all that. So I definitely recommend painting as it makes a big difference. It gives it a nice, clean, fresh look, plus it's excellent for resale. Just checking my time here. Lighting. Lighting is super important, and we have to think about the different times of the day. If somebody comes to see your home, as I said earlier, outdoor lighting is super important, but when it starts getting light or darker, you want to have lots of nice exterior lights. But then once you get inside the house, if you don't have overhead lights, it's important for each room that as you walk into the room, if you flip the switch, that lights go on. So whether they're high hats or in lamps around the room, you want to make sure that all of the lights go on in the house. Since sometimes when a realtor is with buyers and you're talking, and maybe you have buyers that sort of try to scatter and you got to try to keep people around, it's so much easier for that real estate professional to be able to have flip, 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 turn the lights on, and then you really can see the rooms. This is sort of like, you know, really like the next class over, but I'll just mention it. If your house is for sale, I know this is a prep, but let's say your house is listed for sale, it's really not a bad thing when it would be an appointment. People just aren't allowed to come into the house, you know, whenever. When the appointment's set up, to go through and turn on all the lights for them. And it's just such a nice thing to pull up to a house and have all the lights on. It's just very warm and inviting and welcoming, and you know, just to have that electricity on for just a little bit is really worth it, rather than having maybe an overwhelmed realtor showing your house with it dark. So we want to make sure all of our light bulbs are working. We want to make sure that a light comes on. So if you have like an outlet in a room that you know you need to plug a light on, like if there's no overhead lights, plug a light on so that when you flip that switch, a light goes on. And then even think about for showings, leaving all the lights on. It just makes it just a better experience for everybody. So that brings us to smoke and fire equipment. In the town of Bloomingdale, we have what's called a certificate of continued occupancy. West Milford has just a smoke cert, and all the towns have different variations of this. But it is a state law that you need to have all of your smoke detectors have to be less than 10 years old. You need to have a carbon monoxide detector, and you need to have a fire extinguisher mounted in the kitchen on the manufacturer's brackets. You don't need this to live in your house, but you do need it to sell the house. Plus, it's also a really good idea to have updated smoke detectors in your home. So this is something, there's companies that do it. If you look at, you could go online, or if you give me a call, I could recommend a couple, and have all your smoke detectors updated. They need to be less than 10 years old. If your smoke detectors in your home are hardwired, they also need to be less than 10 years old. And then when it comes time to get either your certificate of continued occupancy or your smoke certificate, you're gonna know, okay, no, this is easy. I know I've got all of my smoke detectors right where I need them to be. And then you also have peace of mind, because it's just sort of an important thing. And again, why wait for your buyers to make the house nice and safe? Make it nice and safe for yourself. So now one thing is, I call this one, don't bring your skis to Florida. If you're planning on moving someplace, maybe you're going from a house to a townhouse, I mentioned the snow blower, you don't need the weed whacker and the lawnmower and all these things. So you want to start, those are some of the things that you would want to, you want to plan for those, because you don't want to get rid of the snow blower if your house is for sale and then you have a lot of snow and you have no, but you can make arrangements. You can maybe have somebody, while the house is listed for sale, hire somebody to come and do the snow, hire someone to come and do the lawn. It's one other thing that you don't have to think about. But you don't want to, you're not going to bring all your old ski equipment or just hobbies and things that you don't do anymore. It's a really great time to start thinking about that. Like, maybe I'm really not going to do this, or craft supplies for crafts that you're never going to do. It's always nice to move them forward and let somebody else enjoy them. And then if you decide that you do want to take up this hobby again, it's always great to go buy new stuff, especially if you're in a completely different place. And again, you might find some new hobbies where you go. We're on number 10 already. Let me check my time here. So one of the things is, have a real estate professional help you. I've gone into so many people's homes, and as I said, I want to sell, but I understand I need to update my kitchen, or I need to do this or that. And a lot of the times I don't agree. I don't think that anybody should be making decorating or design choices for somebody that they never met. You don't need to redo a whole kitchen for somebody. And it's one of those things, I've seen it happen. You put a brand new kitchen in, brand new kitchen, you just have new cabinets, countertops. The house closes, and then you drive by a couple of weeks later, and there is a dumpster in the driveway, and they are taking that brand new kitchen and putting it in the dumpster. It's heartbreaking. It's wasteful. It's not okay. So if you wanted to do some updates, paint, clean, put some new caulk in, maybe update some lighting, but overall, you really don't let your new people, let the buyers make the design decisions, because we have no idea what they're all about. And everybody likes other stuff, so why would you pick out a countertop for somebody that you never met before? So that's something it can be like, maybe it is time, listen, this house is a little too big for me, it's a little too small for me, but I know I can't move until I do my kitchen. You probably don't have to do your kitchen. So I definitely recommend, again, I'd love for you to call me, but call a real estate professional, come in and say, what do you think I need to do to get this house ready to be sold? You do a whole punch list for you. So number 11, again, we're moving forward to when the house is actually for sale. The depersonalization. It's not a time to show off your collections, your beautiful grandchildren. You want to take yourself out of the house. I went into a house, and this gentleman had the most amazing Hummel collection I've ever seen. Like, if he wanted to start a Hummel museum, he could have done it. He was a pharmaceutical rep, and he had like limited edition. He had 4 china cabinets filled with Hummels. That is going to distract a buyer. First of all, nobody needs 4 china cabinets. Never mind 4 china cabinets filled with Hummels. And even when I was there to help him get the house ready to be sold and to sell the house for him, we spent a lot of time talking about the Hummels. And I was there to help him get the house sold. So when the house is for sale, it's the time to let other people see themselves in your house. And an added bonus of this is, if you've been in your home for a long time, we're attached to it. That's our house. That's where we live. That's where we visit with our friends, with our family. It depends on how long you've been in the home. You could have raised your kids there. Taking down the family photos, taking down the collections, bringing it back to neutral helps you detach from it. It helps you be not so attached, and it becomes less like your home and more like probably one of your biggest investments. And you really can start looking at it like, you know, I've taken these steps, I've decluttered, I've painted, I've made little repairs on things, and now you could look at this as like, I did a good job with this, I'm gonna, you know, make money off of this home and move to your next home. So this one, number 12, I'm going to sort of mix it in with make the small repairs. If there's anything in your home that is not working, if the dishwasher is broken, if you have major appliances that are not working, or if there's a loose doorknob or a leaky faucet or anything like that, you know, those are repairs that it is good to make. Not major, you don't have to do major things sometimes. And again, if there's something major, if you know you need a new roof, don't have the money, time, or energy to do a roof, that's something a little bit different, and that's where I would recommend calling in a real estate professional and asking them, listen, I don't feel like doing my roof, I know it needs a roof, what should I do? And we'll come up with a plan together. But the little things, have all the little things fixed. If you have a septic system, have the septic checked, have the septic pumped. If you have a well, in this area, I know most everybody is city water, city sewer, but a lot of people still have wells and septics. It's a New Jersey state law that your well water quality needs to be tested. It's a very expensive test. It's only good for 6 months, but it's like $1,300, and they're looking for 9 pages of contaminants. So think about that for a second. So if you have well water, you haven't had it tested, you could be drinking or making ice cubes with water that's got some nasty stuff in it. So why not do that for yourself? And then you know you're being taken care of. Septic systems are very expensive. If you have a $1 million house and need a new septic, it could be $40,000. If you have a $300,000 house and need a new septic, it's still $40,000. It's much better to know ahead of time that sometimes the septic, it might just need a new baffle, it might just need to be jetted out, saving yourself for, let's say, great, we're going to put the house on the market in 2 years, you have the septic inspected now, which could prevent a failure in 2 years, and you literally could save yourself $40,000 on it. One thing, don't ever have the septic pumped before a home inspection, because that is not a good thing, because they'll open up the septic and say the septic's empty, it obviously leaked out when it didn't. So don't do it like when you're close to being sold. I mean, this is, again, preliminary type stuff. So I think I talked for 20 minutes here, so if you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them. I've been doing this for 20 years, so I have a lot of answers, and then when I don't have the answers, I have people. I've got real estate attorneys, and I was with a well guy this morning, and the town, there's just a lot of people that have information on what's the best thing to do about your house. Something's going on with it. So if you have any real estate questions in general, I'm always available for questions.